Cucumber and Tomato Ride the Rides. Cucumber and Tomato were out walking on a sunny day. Suddenly, Tomato stopped in his tracks. "Look over there!" he shouted, pointing. In front of them stood a giant, colorful sign. "Welcome to the fair." "Wow," said Cucumber with wide eyes. "Shall we go in?" "Of course we shall," answered Tomato excitedly. They ran to the entrance, and soon they were inside among lights, balloons, and cheerful laughter. The smell of popcorn and cotton candy filled the air. First, they came to a big carousel with horses going round and round. "Ooh, I want to ride the blue horse," said Tomato, jumping up and down. "Then I'll take the green one," decided Cucumber. They stood in line. In front of them, some children whizzed by, waving happily. "Do you see how fast they spin?" said Cucumber a little nervously. "It looks super fun," answered Tomato. When it was their turn, they climbed onto their horses and held the handles tightly. The music began to play, and the carousel started moving. "Whee!" shouted Tomato, stretching out his arms. "It tickles in my tummy like jumping on a trampoline," laughed Cucumber. When the carousel stopped, they staggered a bit as they got off. "I feel all dizzy," giggled Tomato. Next, they went to the tall roller coaster. The tracks twisted up into the sky and down in steep drops. "Whoa," said Cucumber. "That looks really steep." "Come on, we can do this," encouraged Tomato. They waited in line and heard the cars rattle by. "Did you hear that scream?" whispered Cucumber. "Yes, that was a scream of joy," Tomato replied firmly. Soon it was their turn. They sat in the front row and fastened their seatbelts. "Ready?" asked Tomato. "As ready as I'll ever be," answered Cucumber, taking a deep breath. Whoosh! The car started rolling. Up, 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 and then straight down. "Woo!" shouted Tomato. "Hold on tight!" yelled Cucumber, gripping with both hands. The car swerved to the side, rushed through a tunnel, and spun around in a spiral. When it stopped, they both laughed out loud. "I think my heart just jumped," said Cucumber. "That was the best ride ever," answered Tomato. Afterwards, they needed something sweet. They bought a big pink cotton candy each. It tastes like sugar fluff," said Tomato with sticky cheeks. "I got it all over me," giggled Cucumber, trying to brush it off. "My fingers are so sticky now," laughed Tomato. "I'm almost stuck to myself." Their next stop was the Ferris wheel. They stood in line and watched the cars slowly spin around. "That wheel is enormous," said Cucumber. "We'll see the whole world from up there," answered Tomato. When it was their turn, they sat in a little car that slowly began to rise. Up, 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 until they were at the very top. "Look," said Tomato, "you can see the whole fair. It looks like a sparkling toyland. And over there is the roller coaster we just rode," said Cucumber proudly. They sat quietly for a while, just watching all the twinkling lights below. When they came down again, they passed a game booth with cans stacked high. "Shall we try?" asked Tomato. "Yes, but you go first," said Cucumber. Tomato grabbed a ball, aimed carefully, and threw. Bang! All the cans tumbled down. "You won!" shouted Cucumber. Tomato got to pick a prize and chose a giant teddy bear. "His name will be Bruno," he said proudly. "Bruno will join us on the next ride," laughed Cucumber. For their grand finale, they went to the water ride. They stood in line and watched boats splash down the hill with a big splash. "I'm going to get completely soaked," said Cucumber. "That's the fun part," answered Tomato. They climbed into the boat with Bruno in their arms, who got a plastic bag over him so he wouldn't get wet. Clunk, clunk went the boat up the hill and then straight down. Splash! Water sprayed everywhere. "I'm drenched," laughed Cucumber. "Me too, but Bruno stayed dry," said Tomato, lifting the bag. As evening came and the lights of the fair twinkled on, they sat down on a bench. Everything glittered in different colors and the music played softly. Tomato hugged Bruno and smiled. "I think Bruno wants to ride again tomorrow." "Yes, and so do we," said Cucumber. "We didn't even try the haunted house or the bumper cars." They stood up, held hands, and walked home while the fair sparkled behind them like a magical world full of promises for new adventures.